Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. You do not have to love college football to appreciate the conversation we're about to have with someone who matters in our state a great deal and in this nation, particularly as it relates to collegiate sports. He's Greg Schiano, head football coach at my alma mater, the great Rutgers University. Good to see you, Coach.
Great to see you, Steve.
Coach, we're taping on the 16th of February. The football season's over. By the way, is the football season ever really over for a coach?
Yeah, I don't think it is, especially with recruiting the way it is these days. It's a 365-a-day deal.
Let me ask you this, as we still are dealing with COVID, how challenging is it to recruit? And the fact that Rutgers even played football this year in the Big Ten is extraordinary. So much around that. You could check out the history behind it. But, Coach, how much harder is recruiting during COVID?
Well, you know, the tough part is you don't have that interpersonal interaction. You know, it's over a computer screen, much like this. And it's been what we call in our industry dead period, meaning that no coaches are allowed to leave campus and no prospects are allowed to come to campus with their families. So that's kind of like the lifeblood of recruiting. So it certainly has been a big change, but I think, you know, the programs that have adapted best give themselves the best chance.
You know, I mentioned this too before we got on the air. I'm going to talk leadership with you because we do a sister series called Lessons in Leadership, and your leadership, the leader you are, is a role model for all of us. But beyond the X's and O's, beyond how hard you work, beyond the fact that before we got on the air, I could tell you were studying something. You're always studying, you're always thinking, you're always planning. We had a conversation, and I encourage people to go on our website, steveadubato.org, that you'll see the interview we had that we taped on the 9th of November, 2020 with Eric LeGrand, number 52, the only number 52 that will be connected to Rutgers football, the 10th anniversary of his injury against Army, paralyzed, extraordinary young man. He talked about you. There's a question and a point here, Coach. He said that after that injury, which changed his life, you would visit him in the hospital late at night, stay with him, talk with him, and making sure that he had everything he needed, and he could no longer play for you. What connection do you feel and responsibility you feel for your players, number one? Number two, what does that have to do with leadership?
Well, first, let's discuss Eric. I mean, he's an incredible young man. He's an inspiration to so many, and rightfully so. That number 52 is retired, and it stands on the top of our stadium lit every night. So there's not a night that I don't see it. And, you know, Eric has been, as I said, an inspiration for so many people at Rutgers, in our state. He's gone around the country speaking, and he is what I really think our players should embody. He is, from the day we met, as he was a high school freshman, a positive influence on anybody he's around. And that's easy when you're a star football player. But how about when you are paralyzed from the neck down, and to still be able to have that influence on people? He's just an incredible young man, and one that is a hero of mine. And, you know, people say, oh, that was great what you did for Eric and all that. That's just instinct to me. I mean, he was one of our guys. He is one of our guys. And as a family, you stick together. And, you know, all those moments you see on TV of hoisting trophies and confetti, you know, there's a lot of other moments that are much different, and you stick together through thick and thin.
Coach, let me pick that up. It's so interesting because so much of what you do as a coach, other than recruiting, motivating, coming up with a game plan, developing a great staff, there's an initiative I want to ask you about. A lot of this is off the field, and our friends at Horizon and RWJ Barnabas Health, big underwriters of what we do. There's a program called, it's called Lift the Mask, and it's around mental illness. What is that, and why does it matter? How is it connected to what you're doing?
Well, you know, I happen to be a huge proponent of mental health within athletics. I think our youth face an incredible challenge. You know, this cell phone, the social media, those things where, unfortunately, our youth find their acceptance. It allows so many people into their minds, into their thoughts. And one of the things that we are doing through the people that you just mentioned is we're building a mental health group within our football program. And I believe it's one of the first of its kind in college football, but I put that much emphasis on it because when you're coaching these players and they're working incredibly hard, I think sometimes that gets neglected.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting because caring about your players, caring about your coaching staff, caring about the people around you. I often say as someone who coaches around the area of leadership, you can't teach people to care. You can teach people to communicate more effectively, be more concise, whatever, blah, 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 run a better meeting. But you can't teach people to care. Let me ask you this. Your sense of personal commitment to those around you and their well-being, how much of that is a cornerstone of your leadership philosophy, Coach Schiano?
Well, that's my purpose. And, you know, my goal is to win a national championship at Rutgers, but I think there's a big difference between your goal and your purpose. And maybe in my younger years, there wasn't always a big difference, which is dangerous. But as I aged and I had 4 kids of my own, go through, you know, all the different stages of schooling and athletics, it sure has changed. So I look at it as every single day I get to lead this organization of Rutgers football, and there's over 180 people that are probably attached to our program. You know, do they leave when they're in our presence? Do they leave daily better for that? You know, because at the end of the day, if you can make every person that you're in contact with the best version of themselves, well, now you're really doing something meaningful. And what happens when you get a lot of people who believe in that, the growth is exponential. And I talk all the time about that. You know, you take the same two number threes, you put an add sign in between them, it's 6. You put a multiple, it's 9. Well, you do 3 to the third, it's 27. Now, it's still the same 2 number threes, but what changed? And that's that element that you've applied to them. And to me, caring, you know, how much do you care? That's a critical part, and I believe, in any leadership, because I don't believe people follow you unless they truly believe you care.
One more quick follow-up on this in the time we have with you. See, one of the things as I'm watching you, my son Nick and I, huge Rutgers football fans along with so many others as I watch you and the team, your passion, which you don't hide on the sidelines, your enthusiasm. You've been at this for a while. How many years have you been coaching?
This will be my 32nd year.
Actually, my 32nd year doing this. Question, your constant passion, enthusiasm, energy, which physically manifests itself, like you're right there. You're with your players. You're celebrating with them. And also when things don't go well, you make it clear. Question here. How do you keep that passion not just alive, but stronger than ever?
Well, I think you have to reinvent yourself. You know, I'm really glad that I'm not the same guy at 54 as I was at 34. I took this job at 34 years old. Well, quite honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know at 34. And after 20 years of experiences, I mean, we're all a product of our experiences. And you can either learn from them or you can't. And I choose to. And I think it doesn't make you perfect by any means, but it sure as heck better make you better than you were 20 years ago.
Last question. Being in the Big Ten, and this is not a sports program, but people know that the Big Ten is big time. Big time Rutgers football, Rutgers sports overall. For those who say, hey, really, come on, it's Rutgers, it's an academic school. I know because I'm a graduate of Rutgers. The balance between academics and big time sports is? Go ahead, Coach.
Well, it's just what you said. It's the Big Ten. I mean, that's why from 2002 until I left in 2011, that was my main primary goal, was to get Rutgers into the Big Ten. I mean, you look at schools like Northwestern and Michigan, right? I mean, those are pretty darn good schools, and I can name off quite a few more. So we are right where we need to be, and that's what makes this job so exciting to me. We are in the best academic/athletic conference in the United States, and we're very fortunate. Now we got to go win it.
That is Coach Greg Schiano, head coach, football coach at Rutgers University. We'll keep rooting for Rutgers, not just to do well on the field, but to build men of character, young men of character, and young women in sports as well. And Coach Schiano is a huge part of that. And I wish you all the best, Coach. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Steve. Same to you.
I'm Steve Adubato. That's Coach Schiano. Big R, Block R. We'll be back after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, PNC, Grow Up Great, NJM Insurance Group, the New Jersey Education Association, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and by the Fidelco Group. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and by NJ.com.
I'm Miles, and this is what I work for. To be my best for them and for me, in body and in mind. I need a health insurer that helps me get the care I need for both. That has mental health professionals that I can talk to when I need to. Because when I feel strong and secure, so do they. This is my life. And this is how Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey works for me.